Right. Talking to Rhys Price with regard to the Cardiff Story Museum's oral history project with reference to Cardiff City. Rhys, can you tell us about your first experience of watching Cardiff City Football Club, please?
Yes. Well, after the World Cup in Sweden, I was very young at the time. It sparked an interest in me. I was interested in football, really. Sparked an interest in me. And I remember going to a game. It was an international game between Scotland and Wales, which Wales lost at Ninian Park 3-0. And it was actually interesting. I think it was Dennis Law's debut for Scotland. That's that long ago. I then went to a game. It was Sheffield Wednesday against City. I remember that because my father we'd go to rugby, really. Actually, I still love rugby. And also, I then went to a game later on that season between Fulham. Fulham went up that season. And I remember Jimmy Hill was playing, Tosh Chamberlain, Graham Leggett, Tony Macedo. You remember all these players? Jimmy Langley.
Some of the names, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. But the thing was that, I remember that. But I also... What happened then, my father worked with somebody called Norman Price. He was a disabled guy, and he used to do the hospital's broadcast from a little office in the ground. And these guys were kind of invaluable, really. They weren't getting paid for it. And we used to go chaperoned and sell lottery tickets, and get in free. And yeah, we did that for for a few years, really.
And what age would you have been on that first experience?
About 8.
8 years of age.
Yeah. So my father. But then the season City went up. I used to go with a cousin of mine, so I can remember them playing against Sunderland, and also who else? Sunderland and Huddersfield and teams like that. And then, when I was 11, my parents bought me a ticket for the Canton stand, so that I could, go in. But I do remember, a game just a year before when City played against Spurs. Remember that one? And it was a game in which they'd been rugby international in the afternoon, and Spurs were playing in the evening, and it was. City won 3-2, I think.
Yes.
Was it Peter Donnelly and Brian Edgley, wasn't it? Yeah. But and that was, they had 2 seasons in the first division. City always have about 1 or 2 seasons in the top division, Yeah, so that was it. But I do remember also in the school holidays, loads of us used to go and watch the City training. And I remember before one season, there was a guy called Steve McCone, or Steve McCone. He's a black guy, and they're making a big fuss of him. Apparently, he was from South Africa, and he's an absolute legend in South Africa. He went to Holland afterwards. But yeah, there was that. And also, Trevor Ford I was in the same class as his son, and Trevor Ford was banned for a number of years because he said something about the Football League, I think, Football Association. And he played in Holland. Well, David Ford was his son, and so I knew him. So there were these connections. I didn't live that far away from, obviously, because I lived in Grangetown.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. What about the crowds at that time and your memories of that?
Well, they were big. I mean, that Spurs one, there were probably 50,000 or 50,000 there. I mean, what I'd say is it's as a former player, I don't know who it was, an England international said, we used to, when I was playing, it's a bit nostalgic this, I would meet with my friends in the morning, we'd catch the bus to the ground, they'd go in the stand, I'd go and play, afterwards we'd meet up and then we'd go and have a drink and then go back home. He said you couldn't do that today. Yeah.
Right. That you sort of preempt my next question, really, because I was going to ask you about routine and going through routines on match days and things like that. Obviously, you've had experience. If you can expand on that a little bit, about the routine you went through, or if you know the routines other people went through during, on match day.
Obviously, having a ticket for the Canton stand, I could go and sit in there, and you get to know the people. But also, when we were doing the Hospital's broadcast, we'd be chaperoned. There's a guy called Ron Holder. I remember Miss Thomas as well. These were characters. Do you remember Spencer? What was his name? Spencer something. He was a disabled guy who used to do the tannoy. No, but the thing was that I think City were always near, but never quite there. During the 60s, I was away, but my brother then got very involved going to games, you know. And do you remember those? I remember when I was at school and sixth form, and City had played against Moscow Torpedo, and they played in Tashkent, you know, Uzbekistan, and we had to write something about an event that happened, international event that happened within the last 2 weeks, and I wrote about that. I made all the names up, the Russian names up. They were known, but there was something interesting about that. Edward Streltsov, who was an absolute superstar in the Soviet Union, but he was persecuted by the KGB and virtually destroyed it. It did destroy him. And Richie Morgan was marking him in that game, I think. And Richie Morgan was a young guy, and he marked him out of the game, you know. But they had to have a replay then in Augsburg. I remember listening to it on the radio, and it was Maurice Edelston was doing the commentary. And it's a goal, it's a goal! No, it's not. And that was in 1968. But City won that, and they went through to the, obviously, I didn't go to the semi-final. People I knew did, the Hamburg game, but, you know. So, yeah.
You've already mentioned many names which obviously stick in your mind, but is there one player in particular who sticks in the memory, not just from that period but up until the present day?
I would say several people like, well, Graham Verncombe owned the shop across the road from where I live, you know. Yeah, he was a Welsh schoolboy rugby international. He had a huge drop kick. Do you remember that kick? You know, and also
he was a goalkeeper. Yes.
Goalkeeper,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Well, there were two. There was him and Ron Nichols, and Ron Nichols was a county cricketer as well. Johnny Watkins, people such as Danny Malloy. Remember him?
I do.
And who else? There were quite a few of them anyway. But I think that obviously The Rock, Alan Hudson. No, not Alan Hudson. Was it Hudson? You know, he's a winger. Graham Moore.
Yes.
Not Alan Hudson. Yeah. Graham Moore. Yeah, he was a talented forward.
Right. And what about your feelings when the club, I presume you had some, when the club moved from Ninian Park to its present home in the Cardiff City Stadium?
Well, there's somebody I knew through work who was he was former deputy head teacher in a comprehensive school in Barry, but what he's been doing since, he's been involved with consultancy for funding, you know, and I saw him on television doing the ABC of accountancy with Peter Ridsdale, and I said to him, I saw you on television, dare I say this? And he said yes. He said they were terrible. He said they hadn't done their accounts for a year. Blasphemy! This hadn't done their accounts for a year, and he said that they're all crooks. They are, you know. But my thought was, when I'm concerned because my interest is particularly in community. Now you can be too nostalgic on that. I appreciate that it's a big world, but what I feel is it's important that clubs have a relationship with where they are, and that's true of business and everything, you know? And you can't just ride roughshod over people. Now that's a subjective view, but you know, I do feel that, and I just feel that with the golden ticket thing, whereby you know, people were asked to buy 2 season tickets in advance, and they said they'd spend it on a particular thing, and they didn't. To me, that, you know, that's exploiting people who haven't got so much money. And I did feel in the 80s I totally lost interest in football because I just felt it was, you know, they were asking people to walk through hoops, you know, and it was all about security and whatever, you know. And
I was thinking more about, not very interesting, I was thinking more about the atmosphere that went with